Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the last trade that we're going to talk about is what we call a far from moving average trade. It's going to be one of the more difficult ones to execute, but it's also going to be one of the more profitable ones when we learn how to do this trade. So let's take a walk over to the chart and explain the theory behind the far from moving average trade. First of all, what is it? When a stock, and if we look up right up here at our 9 EMA, price of that stock is 109.85. Within 5 minutes, this stock went down to 104.50. It's almost $5 away from that moving average. That is the first thing we look for. We want a stock to be at least $1.50 away from the closest moving average. But here is when we're going to start using our relative strength, as we talked about in an earlier lesson. We are looking for a relative strength index of less than 20 when we start to look for a far from moving average trade. So two criteria. One, the stock is at least $1.50 away from the closest moving average. And two, we have a relative strength index below 20. This is alerting us that the stock is going to tell us that there's going to be a reversal in the stock. So let's talk about how we actually execute this trade. When we have our two criteria that have been met, number one, the stock is at least $1.50 away from the moving average. In this case, we are $4 away. Perfect. Number two, our relative strength index is below 80, below 20. In this case, our relative strength index is about 16. This is telling us that there's going to be a change in this stock. So how do we execute this trade? This second, and I mean this second, we see this green bar form. We want to buy this stock with a market order. And we cannot hesitate on this trade. You need to push the button immediately on a far from moving average trade. And I'll explain to you why. If we hesitated at all, look how quickly this bar went up. This stock went from 105.50 to 108 in less than 5 minutes. That's why it's so important the second that we see a changing of the guard, and that's what we call this. When we see this candlestick start to turn green, enter a market order to buy the stock, So let's walk through the numbers. The stock just made a low right here at that point of 105. We see this green bar. The stock went up to about 105.30. The second we see that green bar, we push the button. We are now long this stock at 105.30. Very simply, our stop order in this trade goes at the low sale of the previous bar, which was 105. We are risking 30 cents on this trade. If this stock turns around and goes right back down, it's not a far from moving average trade. The relative strength is not correct at that moment, but 90% of the time when you see this trade is going to work, and it's going to work very quickly. So our profit target in this stock is $1. We look to make between 25 cents and $1 on every single trade that we make. As soon as we buy, and this is going to happen very quickly, in a far from moving average trade, and we actually have two examples of it here, so I'll show you the other one real quick also. I'm going to say within a minute of finding a far from moving average trade, it's going to work or it's not. 90% of the time, if you execute this trade properly, it's going to be a profitable trade. We're long at 105. Let's immediately throw out an order to sell it at 106 within seconds. And I'm talking seconds. This is a whole 5-minute bar, but probably within a minute, this stock went up $1 and we were able to execute our trade and get out of the trade. So important things about a far from moving average trade. So I'm going to show you this second example now, and we'll go a little quicker. Stock is $5 away from the moving average. Makes a low sale of 101.55. We have our relative strength below 20. We see this tiny little green bar right here, right around 102. We get long the stock at 102. Our stop order goes at the low sale, 101.55. Immediately put out an order to sell it at 103. And within about 30 seconds, this stock went all the way up to 104. Take the profit out of the trade. That is our far from moving average trade. Now let's put up another chart of a far from moving average trade.